Hello, everyone. Welcome into Above My Pay Grade. My name is Eric. Thanks for tuning in. If you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, hitting subscribe if you haven't already. Now, on this channel, we try to learn economics together. And although it can be very boring at times, macro is very interesting, especially when you're dealing with an economy like we have today, when we have a administration who is saying our economy is super strong because of unemployment numbers, and you're having economists say, oh, not so much. The problem with economics, unlike other sciences, if you want to call it a science, I heard it said once, economics is kind of like other sciences if the atoms had individual personalities, because economics really is the study of human beings and how they interact and how they're going to react to financial stimuli. And human beings are unpredictable. So, I mean, you can, in large swaths, you can kind of assume they're going to react to, free money, stuff like that. But there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to macro. But one thing you can predict nearly 100% of the time is that the government's going to lie to you and sell you propaganda. So we're going to weed our way through it. The Biden administration has been saying that the unemployment numbers are a key metric to the idea that we're not in a recession, because we added almost 500,000 jobs recently. And how can we have a recession if we are adding jobs? And I want you to keep this in mind, because they've been saying we've added jobs the entire time. That we've added more jobs than any other president. That is correct. Where did those jobs come from? So I find in macro, the follow-up question is always the one that gives you the most insight. Where did those jobs come from? And those jobs were the jobs that were cut during COVID. So we didn't really add them. We just unpaused them. So if the goal is to get the truth of how our economy is doing and the health of our economy, then you need to weed through these numbers and you need to ask a follow-up question. So, reading an article here from The Hedge, and it basically goes through why the unemployment numbers are a lagging indicator, meaning typically they're the last thing that come. People losing jobs when it comes to a recession. That's why I know economists worth their salt is going to come out and say, I'm going to wait until unemployment numbers are in, and then I'll declare a recession. They're like the last thing that comes up when it comes to recession indicators. And one of the first is GDP. 2 consecutive quarters of GDP drop. And additionally, I want to make this point. Did you know that a large majority, in fact, in 2021, it was almost 35 to 40% of our nation's GDP was government spending? And as I've said on this channel many times, governments don't spend any money. They don't create anything. They take from other people. They redistribute. And so when your GDP numbers are going down, they're already doctored, like we've had in these first 2 quarters, because you have real GDP and you have nominal GDP. Real GDP takes into account the inflation numbers, and that's government inflation, doctored, right? We do not have the same equation for inflation that we had in the 1970s. Ask yourself that question. Why would the government change the equation? Okay, because it helps the government. So our real GDP numbers, it takes into account the government's doctored numbers on inflation, and government spending is injected into that GDP, meaning that's 30 to 40% of the actual GDP is just government spending. All that to say, it's a house held up by sticks that are falling apart, being eaten by termites, okay? It is not the velocity of money, the health of the economy, strong jobs, innovation, not happening in the United States. And the termites that are eating the house are the politicians and the regulations and all that other BS that's coming out of Washington. But these lagging indicators, they're going to hold on to, and one of them is jobs. So if you hear, well, the job numbers are good, so we don't have a recession, understand that jobs are a lagging indicator. And it's kind of like saying, I don't know, if you're drowning, you're not like somebody just gives you a high five because you're not drowning as fast as the person next to you, but you're still drowning. And so they try to console you that you're not dying as fast as the next guy, but in reality, you're both in the same spot. So we're really, when it comes to jobs, when people start talking about jobs, we're really splitting hairs here. And it just goes to show the motivation has nothing to do with getting to the truth. It really has to do with pulling the wool over your eyes, which is par for the course, of course. So GDP has, as this article states, has been propped up by government spending over the last couple of years. So their contention is this. Our government spent about $6 trillion, and a lot of that went to the pockets of everyday Americans. And so you had this artificial boom in demand when it comes to services, stores like, and you're probably seeing it in your local area, you're seeing Targets and Walmarts and all that kind of stuff. They're having these blowout sales because they thought this demand was going to stick around, because they had this demand from maybe late 2020 and into 2021 from stimmies, right? So the stimmy demand came out, and now that's gone. And we had a ton of people during 2020 and 2021 who were happy to sit at home, sit on their butts and do nothing and collect unemployment checks. They were perfectly happy to do that. And now that unemployment is running out, state and federal. And so these 500,000 jobs that were added to the workforce are, again, these are people that were unpaused. Finally, they're getting back to work after staying home because they were scared of COVID or what have you. But it's not new business adding new jobs. It's not new business adding new jobs. And that is the wool they're trying to pull over your eyes in Washington. This is new business. This is innovation. This is growth. In fact, it's people coming off unemployment who are finally realizing there is no more free lunch. There's no more free money. And as this article says, your activism is only, people are activists as long as their stomach is full, and then not so much. So their contention in this article is that most of these jobs are jobs that those help wanted signs are for. People have been sitting home, not going to work, collecting unemployment, and that employment's finally run out. And this $6 trillion that was handed to individuals and used in 2020 and 2021, that demand is going away. So this lagging indicator of jobs actually going away and people getting fired, their contention is you'll start seeing that in early 2023. I would tend to agree with them. If you look out there, there's something to be said about your gut instincts. If you look out there, it doesn't look right. You know, the economy doesn't seem healthy. Everyone seems pessimistic. There is something to be said about your gut instinct, and ain't looking good. And I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I don't know what it's going to be. Typically black swan events are events that you don't see coming, but I'm waiting for an unprecedented, once-in-a-generation event to happen again. Because we've had a lot of them in the last couple of years. And that will be the other shoe to drop. And that's when the stock market and all economic indicators, the bottom falls out. Because I don't think we've felt the full effect of pain of shutting down the economy for 2 years. Anyways, let me know what you think. Let me know if you think these unemployment numbers have any effect on the fact that we're in a recession, or they're just telling us that we're drowning slower than we actually are. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you guys in the next one. Peace.